In today's episode of E-commerce Joe, we're speaking with Giles, who is the founder and business owner of the Motus Projects, which is a parkour clothing brand. He sells on Shopify. We're going to find out how he does it and what he does in this episode. I hope you enjoy. Welcome to the show, Giles.
Thank you very much.
I feel I should be honoured because you're a professional, and
in what sense?
I'm a newbie. You've run YouTube channels, you've got podcasts going on. You filmed a podcast. You recorded a podcast earlier. You've got 20,000 followers on Instagram for yourself. Your dog's a bigger influencer than me. He's got
True. Yeah. I haven't got 20,000. I'm bitter about that. I've been on 19.6 or 19.7 for 2 years now.
Really?
But I don't have the consistency to crack 20k because I don't care that much. But also I secretly do. So one day I'll go for that push and I'll make it. So
for the benefit of anybody watching, my huge audience of about 12 people, who are you and what do you do?
I'm Giles Campbell Longley. Many people think I'm called Giles Motus. I run a parkour focused clothing brand. I never really know how to sum it up, but I guess it's a brand that is focused on parkour clothing, but also like, as much as that is my core audience, and I've been involved in the sport since 2003, I also don't want people outside of parkour not to be interested in it. Like in the same way that a lot of people wear skate brands, like it's that mutual respect for like a sports culture and things. So very much kind of open to spreading. Used to be, go for it.
For the benefit of anyone who doesn't know, what is parkour? Because I did mention it to someone the other day and they're like, what is that?
Everyone has their own different definition of it. Some people know it as free running. There's always been debates about whether or not those two things are different or whether or not they're the same. Some people say it's outdoor gymnastics. Lots of people say it's jumping over buildings. They always say over, not between. They always say over. And it's like, it's predominantly street-based sport. It does sometimes get practiced in gyms because of people now build parkour gyms inside in the same way that you get kind of skate parks and stuff. It's a sport that uses the human body to typically, the proper definition of parkour is to travel from point A to point B as efficiently as possible. Nowadays, it's not like we run through urban environments going like, here's point A and here's point A, point B, and sprint between them. But we use awesome movement that essentially is quite fundamental, running, jumping, climbing, and lots of creativity to do very cool, fun things that are also mentally and physically challenging.
So for the layman out there, is someone who's doing backflips and forward flips and running up walls and doing loads of crazy, really cool shit, excuse my French, that you wish you could do, but you can't.
Basically, yeah. It's that thing that's always on the internet.
Yeah. So you run a business, or you've started a brand selling essentially clothing or apparel for that.
Yeah.
The brand is called Motus Projects.
Yes.
What does Motus? What does the name come from? What does it mean?
Motus means movement in Latin, and I did, weirdly enough, actually do a couple of years of Latin when I was like really young, because I went to some weird school that still did Latin. I don't remember a single shred of it, but my girlfriend will tell you that she came up with a name. I still don't know to this day whether it was me or her, but it means movement in Latin, and I didn't want to just call it Motus. Now I potentially regret that. I'm not sure, but Projects was like, because I wanted this, I didn't want it to be pigeonholed into one thing. And since starting it, we've done so many different things. So it's kind of, it's under this umbrella of like everything we do is the different projects beneath the brand. So
cool. And then for the business people out there, what is it that you actually do? Like, what do you, or I suppose, what platforms do you sell on? How would you describe the business model? Because the previous videos I've done, I've spoke to say like someone who just does drop shipping, someone who does private label selling, online arbitrage. And I was trying to think of how we describe you, like your business. I feel like you're like a vanilla e-commerce business. It's just
just an e-commerce business that we sell on Shopify. 99% of our sales, especially this year due to COVID, go through that. Very occasionally we'll do pop-up stores. We produce our products predominantly in factories in sort of India, and have done it in China and places. We do some stuff printed on blanks. We have actually this year done a little bit of drop shipping, so to speak, with like posters and stuff like that, where there's just sites we can integrate with Shopify through apps where we can print posters, because we released a film that it's just easy. We don't have to hold them. It's easier to have them shipped out in the tubes and stuff like that. But yeah, 99% of our stuff is real goods that we produce and then sell through Shopify.
Sounds like you do quite a lot then. How did it all start?
So I mean, yeah, I was. Sorry, Karen.
No, and actually, how long has it been going for?
So Motus officially kind of turned 5 in June of this year.
It's old by e-commerce standards, I'd say.
Yeah, which like in some ways you hear about these brands who do like, they start and within a year they've done 1 million. But I started and just had no idea. I was just running in the dark for a few years, and it was very much like a side project turning into a main thing. And also it's growing with our key audience, which is the parkour audience. I think some people get into like e-commerce, drop shipping, whatever, and they go for a very wide target audience, and many of them obviously fail and don't make it. And those that succeed can succeed at great speed and at great size, because the market is massive. Like if you're just making, I don't know, a razor blade company or something. I mean, I never, when we started the brand, I literally didn't even think about stuff like that. I just wanted to make clothes.
So could you say that you actually, or is it fair to say that you started it not as necessarily as a means to make money? You did it as separate? Because I feel like a lot of people, like a drop shipper they say, I'm going to do a drop shipping business. They then look for the product to sell. Yeah. And then they try and sell it.
What's the most high profit product, like, etc. Like, I mean, obviously there was an aspect of money, because I was working as basically a full-time freelance filmmaker with a speciality in parkour, which I was very lucky. I came up at the perfect time to actually get quite consistent work, because parkour went through this time period of a couple of years where it was the new hot thing. It had like been around for a while in the underground, and then suddenly it kind of got commercial attention. And every business in London, every business in the UK, every business in the world, when they were thinking, oh, we want our viral ad for the year, they were like, oh, we won't get a skateboarder, we won't get this. It was like, oh, let's get those guys who do parkour. And the amount of videos I shot of people running across London in suits to advertise for a bank or whatever is insane. Like, and I was getting a lot of that work, working with loads of my friends who are professional athletes, and it was great in some ways. It was kind of, a lot of the jobs were pretty boring, but it was good fun. Once parkour became more of a household name, that kind of died away a bit. So, and then it was like, I was quite aware of that, because I had this kind of period of consistent work and managed to move out and was renting with my girlfriend, and was like, and then as sort of work wasn't there, I didn't enjoy working for other people. I love filmmaking, like I love it, but I don't enjoy making it. If you said, come and make a video for me, I'd do it if you paid me, but like no part of me is going to enjoy that. And I don't like doing things that I don't.
I'm insulted. I can't believe you wouldn't enjoy it. Like with me, Giles.
I mean, I enjoy
We've had a
it.
good beer together.
Yeah, true. Like I would, it's not like I would cry and hate it, but in the long term, I didn't like that ceiling of like, oh, if I stay just at this level, it was like technically I did create a production company, but that was more of just a brand that I was under. As a filmmaker, you've kind of got a solo ceiling of like how high you want to push it. And obviously you can go in to do some crazy big things, but I didn't have aspirations for that. I just wanted to make cool videos that I was passionate about. And I'm not passionate about making videos for banks. Like, I don't enjoy filmmaking that much. And I also don't agree with living a life where you just spend the entire time not enjoying yourself. Like if I'm going to do something, I want to have fun. I do want money because I want to be able to provide. I want to have a family and all of this, but like I'm not set out for some. I mean, I hope I become wildly successful, but it's not what I go to bed thinking about. Like that's.
And I feel like that shows, though, in all honesty, like from the amount of businesses that I see and work with, you are very customer centric, like in terms of especially your marketing. And that brings me on to kind of the stuff I wanted to talk with you about.
Yeah.
I think you're great at it. And honestly, I've not seen like the marketing campaign you did for Cyber Monday is probably the coolest thing I've seen in a long time.
It's definitely the most fun thing we've done in a long time, which is like ticks the box.
I keep telling people about it. It's amazing. So before we go into that, Cyber Monday, Black Friday, again, some people out there might not know what they are. How would you describe them?
I don't actually know what the original story of them is. You hear a couple of things. The one that I always hear is that it's the day that companies used to go on sale, specifically in America, after Thanksgiving, that to sort of enable people to get cheap stuff before Christmas, obviously capitalizing on that rush. But also it was the day that like the companies would find themselves going back into the black, i.e. out of the red, because of the sales. And this then turned into a thing. And we had that period a few years ago in America where it was just insane with people getting killed in Walmart and things like that. And it's definitely got a bad,
really, but you see those people.
It's so crazy. And it's got a bad rep in that sense, because obviously if you own tons of retail stores and you have loads of staff, you need them to work crazy hours and stuff like this. And it's not, there's a lot of like that, like capitalism kind of, it's like, it's that snapshot of capitalism at its worst. But it's undeniably a thing. And especially this year when all the big stores have been forced to sell online, like no big stores have been open and things. So this year, like I was seeing figures projected by Shopify and all this crazy stuff about just how big they expected e-commerce to be. And it's kind of an undeniable thing that it makes sense to cash in on because other people are. So, and because it's in people's heads, people are expecting a sale anyway. Like before it comes up, people are like, are you doing a Black Friday sale? So it makes sense to do it really. And yeah, so to answer your question, it's essentially a sale. Typically it should just be Black Friday. Some people started their Black Friday sale at the start of the month. A lot of those people, to be fair, did it because of shipping delays with COVID. And I mean, even like I listen to podcasts and people are like, you should do your Black Friday sale 2 weeks early. But to me, like, it's not, if you do it on Monday, that's not Black Friday.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I thought to add to that, and again, it's like anecdotal, but I think I'd heard that part of it is that you're actually, that day, the Friday lands, it's kind of the first payday after Thanksgiving and before Christmas. So it's like everybody's got paid and buying presents. So it's the first time people are able to do it.
Yeah. That paycheck, I guess.
And I always know from when I was selling on Amazon, it was always the day that, and it's probably thanks to Amazon promoting it up, but your sales would just skyrocket compared to any other day of the year. It was insane. Our business doesn't, like, we don't really focus on it anymore. So I haven't even checked, to be honest, how well it did or didn't do. But I always remember that was the day we'd be sitting there like refreshing the screen, just watching how have I sold? Oh, I just sold something again. How did your sales go before we talk about the advertising campaign?
Pretty good. I never really know what the benchmark is because and also you kind of, I don't know, I analyze a lot and also kind of criticize myself a lot, I guess. My takeaways, because what is it? It's Tuesday, right? So we're just a couple of days out. My takeaways have been, I mean, we did significantly more than any year prior. In some ways, I was maybe expecting a bit more given how much stock we had in, but also we discounted heavily because we wanted to get rid of as much stock as possible. So obviously, the more you discount, the less total revenue. Like you could do the same amount of sales, but if you did that at 50% off rather than 70% off, the revenue is different. So, but it's always that like, what if? I'm like, what if I only cut it off to like I don't know, up to 40% off sale, would we have sold the same amount?
Yeah.
But made more money, essentially. But I think it went really well. Like for me, I'm trying to be more financially focused, as we've had many conversations in the past. But also it's like, it was just fun. We just put together a really cool campaign, and we had, like, I've always said, it's an attention game, and it's like, at times like that, you are fighting for the attention. I mean, the emails that even we sent out and other people send out, there's so much marketing and selling going on. It's this onslaught of like, every device you're looking at is like sale, like Facebook ad, Instagram ad, and all this. So you're kind of fighting for like to just get a little bit of recognition. And within the parkour space, I wouldn't say it's crazy hard to fight, because some people just go, oh, here's 10% off or whatever. But I don't really look within our own community for inspiration, and also like the metrics that I want to be achieving when it comes to kind of where I want the brand and the store to go. So I kind of look at other people and I'm like, okay, if the big boys are doing this, then like, this is how I want to treat things to some degree.
And talking of the big boys in the parkour niche, currently, I suppose, where does Motus sit in that? Like, how far off or above are you with those guys?
I mean, so like, we are undoubtedly one of the top brands out there right now, both in terms of like following and I would say sales. I mean, I don't know everyone else's figures, but like, I mean, we're not number one, because that's my very close friends who are in they run a brand called Stora, and they've had this insane amount of YouTube success, which has brought, I mean, they've got millions of subscribers. So that for them has been like this huge catalyst of, I'm assuming, online sales, but also just like their following. They are sort of in some ways so far ahead that it's just not even worth comparing to them. But then also I feel like we've got really strong ties with people in our community. But yeah, I mean, I don't want to say we're top three, because that sounds arrogant. And the problem is with the community is I'm great friends with like all the big brands. I have really good friends in, and I don't like to think, like, I feel like there's enough space for all of us, and we're all going in different routes and things. So I don't want to be like, oh, like, fuck those guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're definitely, I'm really happy with where we are, basically. Like, I'm not complaining. So
I think that's a great mindset. Abundance mindset is the thing where you're,
well, it's,
instead of the scarcity of trying to be like, well, that's our pie, eat it. Just,
it's the rising tide floats all boats, or whatever it is. Like, it brings everyone up. Like, if one, let's say our friend Stora have crazy success, which they're doing, they're millions of subscribers on YouTube, although a lot of them are very sort of just focused on them. If they're actually caring about parkour, they're going to be looking more into the culture, and they're going to find the other brands, and they're going to find other stuff that resonates with them. So it's kind of, it's good for everyone, really.
One more kind of general question before I ask you about the ad campaigns. Parkour is potentially going to be an Olympic sport. Is that right?
There have been talks. Yeah, it's the thing that it's very up in the air, especially given all the COVID stuff affecting the Olympics. Like, I haven't heard anything, but there's been a lot of back and forth about whether or not it's moving in that direction and whether or not people want it to. So,
which Olympics potentially could that be? Obviously not, I'm guessing not the Tokyo ones.
No, definitely not Tokyo. Like, I honestly don't know, because skateboarding has only just gone in, and obviously that has been a massive sport for decades now. Parkour seems to be it's being picked up by the IOC, which is no, not the IOC, by FIG, which is Federation International Gymnastique, basically the gymnastics federation. And there's this huge thing that the parkour community was in uproar, because they didn't, like, gymnastics have kind of walked in and gone, oh, this is ours. And everyone's like, no, like, because gymnastics numbers are dropping, parkour numbers are going up in terms of engagement and everything. So to keep gymnastics cool, they're kind of going, oh yeah, this is ours now. The problem is that the sport and the community is so disorganized that any attempt at like standing up for ourselves and creating our own governing, like, about 3 kind of global governing bodies for parkour all popped up at the same time and went like, oh, follow us, we're going to save parkour. And each one had something shady going on with it, or like didn't have the respect that it just, we're so disorganized that Fig have just wiped the floor with us and are like, yeah, we're going to do what we want with you. And snowboarding had the same thing. Like skiing took snowboarding and claimed it as their own. And I think the same thing happened to BMXing, went under normal cycling or something. It's been the Olympics there's a lot of shady stuff happens with like misappropriation and stuff.
Well, I imagine there's so much money behind
yeah
it. Like if you can be the body for it, you're going to get so much funding. But that's probably a rabbit hole to avoid.
It's one that depending on who you speak to, you can kind of get swayed in either direction about, because if parkour goes to the Olympics, more people hear about parkour, therefore technically business goes up. And also, just because some guys are wearing leotards and doing parkour a certain way in the Olympics doesn't mean that parkour is going to necessarily change on the streets. It might. We don't like this. It's a long conversation to be had.
So going back to your advertising methods, I'm trying to keep the suspense of that amazing campaign because it's so good. So before we look at that, we spoke about Black Friday. Cyber Monday was is this big campaign that you did.
Well, so technically it was both, basically. It was Black Friday was the main campaign because that's the main day. Cyber Monday is always like a tag-on day.
What is Cyber Monday? Again, if someone doesn't know.
As far as I'm aware, when Black Friday used to be very much like a retail store thing, Cyber Monday was kind of all the like online stores going like, well, we'll have a bit of that. And then like going, well, let's call it Cyber Monday and not do it on the same day. Now what typically happens is people go, oh, Black Friday, and then they go, oh, we've extended the sale, which to be fair, we did this year for the first time. Normally I keep it just to one day and then what I like to do basically is I go, we're doing a Black Friday sale, we're doing a Black Friday sale. Don't say anything about Cyber Monday. Then you go quiet over the weekend and then you drop a surprise Cyber Monday thing. Kind of keep it traditional.
Yeah.
Most people extend it for the whole weekend. Some just straight up say at the very start of the week, like Black Friday week, we're running from Monday till Sunday night and things like that. So for this campaign, I tried to do like a bit of the traditional. So all the focus was on Black Friday, but there was that thing building basically for Monday. So
yeah. And again, before we go into it, what's your typical, so if we exclude these kind of special events, what's your typical way of getting to customers and advertising to them? Is it through Facebook? Do you spend a lot of money on PPC? What's your approach? Literally
don't spend a penny on paid ads. I have experimented in the past, and it's been a little bit of like, the problem is I understand it. I've done research. I've spent time trying to kind of get my head into them, but they're a scary world when you're a cash type business because So I was just wanted to explode there. So many of our clients and the businesses I work with will hate you right now because it's like one thing that most e-commerce businesses spend so much money on. Oh yeah.
Is their PPC, and to know that you don't spend.
Well, because that's the thing. If I said, oh, I'm going to start a razor blade business, yes, I have somewhat of a stubble. I could be like, oh, Joe, like, do you want a razor blade? But your organic reach can only go so far unless you've got some crazy like luck with a viral campaign, which some of these things do. But a lot of these viral, I mean, they are viral. A lot of these like beard brand campaigns, they will get the money and have a cool influencer come in and they'll shoot a comedic video and I don't know, like, and then they'll put all the money behind it. But we essentially have our own network of, I mean, I got friends with 1 million followers on Instagram. Like, some of our sponsored athletes have tens of thousands of followers. So we've got our own network of influencers that it's like, take a t-shirt, go do your thing. That clip blows up. And then the kids in our audience go, oh, I want that t-shirt as well. And yes, that's slightly limiting in the sense that currently our main target audience is only as big as parkour can go. But as the sport grows, like, it's, the way I see it is it's allowing me to refine the hell out of everything regarding the business. And if I get to the stage where I do want to push into like, what do you call it, PPC?
Yeah, pay-per-click.
Yeah, okay. Like, if I want to push into to sort of paid ads, PPC, like, then I've got everything dialed in, because I would be terrified and I wouldn't know where to start. Like now, if I guess if I was starting a brand now and I had to like raise money, like a lot of people do, I'd obviously set aside some for marketing. And that marketing, if it was for my razor company, would be marketing for paid ads. But I don't, it doesn't sound genuine to me.
No, and that's what I'm saying. You've set out to build an actual, well, you just created a brand that and then the business kind of came from it because you're passionate about it, rather than I'm doing something to make money. That's why it's probably more of a slow burner for you, because
I wish I was a bit more I want to make money, because I probably would have sort of realized the error in my ways when I've made mistakes, and probably wouldn't have made a lot of mistakes. But at the same time, I am glad I've done it this way, because now I feel like I'm, I mean, you learn from all the mistakes you make. So
what mistakes have you made? What's the biggest one?
I actually don't know. Like, probably just not spending money in the right places. Like, kind of your typical, just spending money on the wrong amounts of stock, not restocking the right stock, dealing with awful factories in China and not knowing how to deal with them.
US tour.
Nah, see, Keelan, one of my athletes, he's I say one of my athletes, he's a legend. He's editing. He sits here working his arse off. He's working so hard for the brand. We did a US tour a couple of years ago. We toured the US, and I put not tens of thousands of pounds, like maybe like 10 to 15 grand. I borrowed a ton of money off my family, and we toured the US, and the idea was to make a film and sell it. And then the edit just didn't get started for months and months and months. We had the best time. I gave these like 15, 16-year-old up and coming athletes the trip of their life that they'll never forget. I had an incredible time. It was honestly life-changing. And we made so many connections. One of our guys won a speed competition out in Canada, like age 15. He just wiped the floor with everyone. Like, so there's really, really cool stuff happened. And that ended up being, it was meant to be a film, but it ended up being a series, a YouTube series. So myself and Keelan edited episodes. And I mean, each episode has probably only got 20,000 views each. But things like that have like solidified our place in terms of like creating content and building an audience and things like this. So definitely spent way too much money, and definitely did not think it through whatsoever. However, wouldn't necessarily change it. I think it's just, I didn't even, like, at the start of the business for the first 2 years, I didn't know what a margin was. I didn't know if you bought a t-shirt for this much money, you should sell it for this much money because of these mathematical reasons in the middle to make sure that you're making enough profit. I just bought stock, potentially getting screwed over by factories because they're just giving me whatever price. And then I would go, well, everyone else kind of sells their t-shirts for this much, I'll do the same. So stuff like that, really, like, just naive.
What are the things to consider there with your margin? Because again, many people wouldn't think about the, I think there's a lot of business owners that do that. As much as I try to help them, they do just say, well, I can buy it for this and sell it for that.
I used to literally just times by 3, and sometimes the factory would like screw me over and I'd end up paying way too much for a product and go, oh, timesing by 3 makes it that much. No one's going to buy it for that much. And then go, I'll just double it. And just kind of think, oh, I'm not making as much money there, but not really think of the implication there. But I mean, the things to obviously think about is like actual landed cost in terms of getting it flown here, wherever it's coming from, to your door. Technically, then you need to kind of price in packaging materials, like these kind of things. Your basic packaging materials are fairly cheap unless you're doing anything snazzy. So you're talking pennies on a poly bag and things like that. But it's good to just bear in mind these things if you start adding in additional stuff, depending on where you're storing it. There's all that pre-sale cost. And then obviously if you're VAT registered, you don't want to be looking at your price and just thinking like, oh, that chunk of VAT is actually profit or whatever. And then thinking about shipping costs and thinking like, are you eating the shipping costs? Is the customer eating it? What's that going to do? And this is still something I'm desperate to refine and work out, because shipping is a massive conversion rate factor in sales, like huge. especially when Amazon is just so easy.
What happens there then?
In what sense?
You said it's a conversion rate factor.
Well,
like how does it might seem obvious, but
so for us, like shipping at the moment, because of, COVID's been a nightmare. We've got kind of Brexit on the horizon, which, literally I've just got rates through from Royal Mail. Well, I got a warning email today. I think the rates actually come through tomorrow. Everything's predicted to jump up a load. Obviously, if you take on the shipping costs yourself and you haven't factored that into your product cost, then you're losing profit. If you let the customer pay for that, which currently is the method we're doing, we're currently using a fulfillment house who they're incredibly good, but there's sort of, you end up paying money for their space and their work and things. And then if you're letting the customer pay that, a 7-8 quid postage charge on a t-shirt to Europe, if the t-shirt's 20 quid or 25 quid or whatever, like, yeah, our specific market is not, we're not luxury high-end clothing. So like, I literally get messages from kids who are like, oh, I've saved up for a couple of months to buy this. So it's getting hit with you don't see it on the front end, and then you get to the checkout and there's 8 quid extra. You're like, it's not good. So one thing I'm really keen to look into once we sort a few other things out is like whether or not it's the psychological impact of, if we increased our product price from, let's say, £28 a t-shirt to £32 a t-shirt, and then ate a chunk of that shipping and made like flat rate £4 shipping, or even free shipping for certain places. And there's a lot of tests you can run on Shopify, like using apps and back-end stuff to see what boosts your conversion rate. So that's like my next deep dive thing I want to get into.
Yeah.
I'm a nerd, basically.
That's why I like you, Giles. You've mentioned kids quite a lot with regards to
it's a bit of a condescending
term. Yeah, I don't think you mean it like that. You say it like affectionately. I guess what I was going to ask is, what's the demographic like? Is it a predominantly quite a young demographic then in parkour?
Yeah, I'd say like 13 to 18 is probably the largest chunk. So I'm 30. There's definitely a huge amount of people from like in their 20s to 30s. But a lot of the like highly engaged, kind of watching everything, really switched on, are definitely the kind of, maybe not the 13-year-olds, but like 15, 16, 17, 18 to 20 maybe. And also, to be honest, a lot of people who buy from us it's their parents, like, which is there's no harm in that. But obviously, if the parents are buying for them, then kind of they're the ones with the money, basically.
Yeah, I had that with a lot of all my hobbies as a kid. All nerdy things. You'll be pleased to hear. Warhammer, all that. It's expensive, and yeah. On the customer service, how do you deal with that? Is there much to do? Do you deal with it?
I currently deal with basically everything. I actually love it. Like I use a system called Rearmaze, which is an app you plug into Shopify. I did used to just have a generic email address set up, but the issue with that is it's very easy to just sort of, everything gets a bit scrambled and lost. And also you're then trying to link an email address or an order number. Well, so one amazing benefit of, you could set this up with a traditional email, to be fair, but I'll explain Rearmaze more in a second. But it's
Rearmaze, like
R-E and then capital Amaze. A. Yeah. It's just way easier to stay on top of it. Like, you email me and you say, where's my order? Sometimes you literally get somebody in capital letters like, where's my order? And they've ordered something a day ago and they live in America or whatever, and you're just like, automatically they get an autoresponder that, well, two things happen. The system either flags their email and links it automatically to their Shopify purchase, because the two things are connected. So then that provides me on the same screen as where I type my email with all of their customer data, their order, when it was fulfilled, etc., etc. So it's very easy just to quickly bang out responses and be like, sorry mate, your thing was sent out yesterday, like, etc., etc. Or it automatically sends them autoresponder and it's like, what's your order number, etc. It just keeps on top of everything. And also it plugs into Shopify, and we have like an automatic FAQ on there. So we have a little chat bot that if you click on, you can type in like, where's my order? And it'll automatically go like, type in your order number here, and you type that in. So that saves tons of questions, so many questions. And then the FAQ is like an automated thing as well. But then when it comes to like the face of customer service, because especially right now, I've got emails coming in regularly. You get people who've put in their wrong address, and you've got to try and catch that before it goes through to the fulfillment house. People whose package isn't missing and things. And I worked at, sorry.
Is that when they actually type the wrong address in themselves?
Yeah.
So it's kind of their fault.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Or it autofills, which is like, I've had that mistake happen. And if the problem is currently I'm a one-man team, and sometimes I have a life. You don't want him on customer service. He'll say horrible things. Yeah, but like in terms of customer service, I'm kind of taking it all on my head. Because also I think it's really nice if people get the brand owner responding to them. Like I have really positive conversations with people.
Yeah.
And what was
it's interesting you say that. The episode I recorded earlier, the Poppy said exactly the same thing. She does it all herself, and I think the response that customers give, knowing
it will be one of the last things I give up.
Yeah,
like it's the whole, you make a diagram and you decide what you need to delegate and stuff like this, and like I will give up that much further down the line than a lot of things, because it's there's a number of reasons. I think like I worked at Apple for a year when I was like 18, 19, and I didn't really accredit anything to this. I didn't think it was that big of a deal, but you do this like rigorous training before you go out and on the kind of shop floor, and you have to clap everyone in and all that stuff. But they have this saying of surprise and delight, and it kind of gets ingrained into you of like, you if you like any potential negative reaction or sort of instance with a customer service thing has the potential to be turned into an incredibly positive one. And sometimes you do have to take a cut like of the profits to make that happen, whether it's issuing a refund or giving somebody something for free and things like this. And I mean, maybe I'm too generous sometimes, but it's not, at the same time, it's not like I'm giving stuff away like willy-nilly. It's just, you just have to always look at a customer service situation like that. And I think if the brand owner is the one reaching out to you, and if it's very personal and not like you're a robot and trying to treat every situation like a unique situation, because for them it is, like for me it's just me banging out emails, but for them it is a very genuine like, where is my individual thing that I've saved up for 3 months to get? You can win so many customers. Like I have it's conversations sometimes where I come away from it after we've resolved whatever the issue was, and I know they're coming back like 100%, because you can just tell, like they give you a response where they're like, I'm actually outstanding at amazed at the customer service or something. Yeah. And like you can just feel it, and that's super important in my opinion, like super important.
So cool. The teaser that I've kept talking about, this Cyber Monday promotion.
Yeah.
Would you like to explain it in your own words before I kind of show a peek of it? What was the plan?
Annoying. I had it all planned out on the wall here, and I took it down the other day.
Did you take any photos? Can I try and get them?
I've got like the Word documents and things. Yeah. I basically, with Keelan a while ago, a couple of months ago, was like, because I like to do ridiculous things. Like on April Fool's, we did a very last minute. I mean, I planned it for a while, but it ended up happening very last minute. 1 day limited collection related to my dog. because I film a lot of Instagram stories with my dog in it, and people love my dog. So we did a
hashtag Darwin.
Darwin, yeah. I changed the entire face of the website, and we drop shipped like 12 different products that were all related to my dog. And I made them really cheap because it wasn't about a profit, it was just about having fun. So we really didn't make much money, but we did over $1,000 in revenue in a day on my dog. Like, and people loved it. And next year, like, I'm like April Fools, I'm like, shit, are we doing frisbees? Like, what are we doing? Like,
yeah. What did you do with the dog? Because you told me about that before, and it's such a good story. I love it.
we released a collection in June called Soul Destroyer, which is related to this destroying of a shoe, like the soul. And this collection had been hyped for about 2 years because it kept getting delayed, and we released a film alongside it and all this. And we knew it was coming out that year, and there was a lot of hype around it. And I kind of said, like, something big's coming April 1st, something big's coming April 1st. And it's like, anyone who knows April 1st is like, it's not going to be Soul Destroyer. But a lot of people thought it was going to be Soul Destroyer. So then, like, I just made a load of stupid Instagram adverts that were like 70s TV show kind of, I put on this cheesy American accent. And our friend Stora released a collection that same day that they have this weird saying called water is God. So I was like, God is dog spelled backwards. So like I just made all these adverts that kind of took the piss out of different people and played on a lot of things and just included, it was all about my dog, and it was called Darwin the Destroyer. And yeah, people loved it. But so for this thing, I just came up with this idea. I was like, why don't we do like a game show for Black Friday, which probably isn't that original. Like, I'm sure other brands have done, because fun brands have fun like with stuff like this, and that's the brands that I like to like follow. Because as I said, it's an attention game. Like, if you just do a standard discount, unless your product offering is top dog, which I like to think our product offering is really good, but like, yeah, it's you stand out more with something that's super original. So we did this. I was like, why don't we do like a Wheel of Fortune thing where you spin it each day, the wheel spins. And initially I was like, is this just an Instagram story animation, or do we actually do this ourselves? And I looked at different kind of After Effects templates to just have a wheel spinning, and I actually ended up using one. But then kind of Keelan was like, we have to do the wheel properly. So we had this wheel that it either lands on a fortune for the audience watching, which is money off or free shipping or something like this, or a misfortune, which is we were like, well, what can the misfortune be? And it was like, well, it can't be anything bad for the customer, so it has to be we have to have contestants. So then it was like, okay, well, we'll get some of our athletes involved. This is kind of thankfully in that weird break between the kind of 2 lockdowns we've had, where we had this rule of 6 thing going on. To be fair, it's been incredibly lax everywhere I've looked, but we did actually keep it to 6. Yeah, we got the athletes in, and we came up with this like wheel plan, and we looked at the local area, and the UK's most haunted woods is really near us, so we're like, that can be a misfortune that we can definitely do. And although the thing had to look random, we had to plan it because we had to shoot it way prior to Black Friday due to all the editing time and everything like this. So we had all these other selections on the board, like naked parkour and tattoo lucky dip, but the ones we settled on were 80s throwback. I just bought a load of outfits, like 80s costumes, off some outfit site. We wanted initially to do like a charity shop challenge where everyone gets like £10 and goes to a charity shop and has to buy an outfit for a different contestant, because that would have been worse, because everyone would have ended up in ridiculous stuff. But obviously due to COVID, we couldn't. So I bought the costumes. So we did 80s throwback, we did Screaming Woods, and World's Hottest Chili Challenge. So those are the ones we knew we wanted to do. And then the fortunes were like, we did like an early sale of 25% off up to 25% off on like a Tuesday. But the whole time, like, making it very clear Black Friday was the big day. Like, I kind of put on like my own personal story, like, no matter what happens, if there are sales this week, there will be the biggest one on Black Friday, because you don't want people spending all their money on the Tuesday and then getting pissed on the Friday because you've discounted even more. So so yeah, that was the plan, is to build out to Black Friday. But then I was like, well, why don't we go one step further? And because we knew we were going to put this out on Instagram as daily videos, or 2 videos a day for the most part. So it would be like the announcement of the sale or the challenge, the misfortune, would go live in the morning, and then the video would follow that in the evening. I was like, well, why don't the thumbnails all build out into like a giant grid? Because you can do this thing with Instagram thumbnails where you can make them all blend together if you do rows of 3 and the image. And the grid slowly reveals like a glitch, because we were going for this like 80s TV theme with these like VHS saturated glitch patterns that would happen like randomly in the videos anyway. I was like, why doesn't it build up as a glitch? And in that glitch is a code in this like VHS text that reveals a Cyber Monday code. So I then had to like build out what this image was going to look like, work out how many videos we needed to release, when they were going to, like, it was ridiculous level of planning, when really we could have probably just gone, hey, 75% off.
No, I think it's amazing. I mean, I'm looking at it now, and the way it all pieces together is incredible. And
it was so scary to know it was to like uploading each one. I was like, shit, if I uploaded the wrong one, like it's got to all be the right timing.
I'm just going to share my screen now. We might try and edit it on afterwards, but I just think it has to, just in case you post something else, it doesn't do it justice.
Yeah. So because it's the last bit had to come last, obviously. So I couldn't give and people had already started guessing error TMP. So I knew that people would probably guess that. So I changed it to a 3.
So that's the code there.
Yeah, that's the code. So that had to come last. So this was for the Cyber Monday. So basically people like quite early on started to realize something was building out.
Yeah. It's so cool. And where's the wheel in all of these? It's gonna.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, so this is the nice one. So this doesn't have the wheel.
Let's go back.
Yeah. Okay. Here we go. This is meeting the contestants. So I built this giant wheel.
And when you say you built it, you actually physically built it, didn't you?
Yeah. I was looking at ones you can buy on Amazon, and they're like 30 centimeters across, and I was like, it's not going to cut it. My dad is a metal worker, and he actually built the frame for me and the ticker, the bit goes at the top, and he had this giant circular piece of wood that he uses for like measuring stuff. I don't really know. I was like, can I borrow that? So I wallpapered it. I put paste on and I wallpapered it, and then I spent 2 days. Like, this is such a ridiculous use of my time, because there's other things that probably would be more effective, but I spent 2 days painting. I stenciled in all the graphics by hand I stenciled them in with a pencil, and then painted them all out. I bought a massive set of like poster paints, painted them out, and then and it all worked like to exactly the way I wanted. So
it's amazing. I mean, I've never seen this much effort go into one.
The problem is
campaign.
Next year we have to just go even bigger. Yeah. Like we were saying, we need full studio audience, like live contestants, everything. Like
that'd be great though. All of the people you're advertising to can take part.
Yeah. Like now, because we've still got the clothes, I've still got the gold jacket and the hair. I mean, the hair looks great on me. So it's like we have to just level it up.
And what was the actual I suppose the reaction to it? Did it actually generate sales like after all of that? Or was I
think so. It's tricky because you're going to generate sales anyway on Black Friday, and because you're giving a discount, like you're going to generate sales. So it's really hard to know like whether or not people were like, oh, I'm not going to buy anything. And then at the start of that, because like I said, attention game that started on the Sunday, I think, or the Saturday, and built out throughout that next week until the Friday. My idea was that anyone who is not really like, if you're half paying attention to the brand during that week, by that Friday, you're like, I was getting messages from people saying they were setting their alarm for 9 a.m. to see when the next thing was going to be in case it was a discount or what the video was going to be. And that's what I wanted. Like I wanted it to get to that level where people were like waiting for that thing.
Am I right in thinking, so this is Monday, Sunday, Saturday. So Friday, they'd been able to see use code.
Yes. Yeah. And so it would be what would be really interesting to do is use a similar campaign method, but like for a sale that isn't Black Friday, maybe, or for like a product launch or something like this. Just to kind of test it, because obviously Black Friday people are going to spend money anyway. But I mean, we did sales, so can't complain.
That's so cool. So on your podcast, quickly, you've got 73 episodes that have gone out.
Yep.
How much time does it take? How long did it take to get going? Does it generate sales? Is it again a part of this, just building out that engagement?
The crazy thing is, it's one of the easiest things we do. Like the first, we literally just started. I was like, Keelan, we should do a podcast, and we recorded an episode. We didn't really know what we're doing. We still don't really know what we're doing. But they get thousands of listens. Like we basically, for the most part, just have loads of fun and talk about parkour related stuff, but also like utter garbage. Sometimes we have much better episodes, like this one where we interviewed Nate Weston, who's an incredible athlete. He's just dropped a massive video. And like, this is cool because Nate came to us and was like, hey, I want to like promo my film. Like, can I kind of have a spot on the podcast? So it's gaining that kind of recognition now where people are using it as a bit of a platform. And it 100% generates sales because we give out a 10% off discount code and it's used a lot because of it. 2, we get messages all the time. I used an old phone that I found in my house and put a new SIM card in it, and we now use that as a Motus phone that we have a WhatsApp number that people send messages to. And like, we turned it on earlier, it's just full of questions, topics to talk about. And also, like, there is something about podcasts, the medium, where if you listen to an hour of someone talk or 2 people talk, you create a much deeper connection with them than you would through an Instagram video or something like this. So myself and Keelan have like, you go to events or you speak to people on the internet and you have really good connections with people who, I don't know, they if they're spending that much time listening to you, then they've obviously got some form of a connection and they relate with you, and therefore you can relate with them. So it's one of the most impactful things we've done in the last couple of years. That's probably one of the lowest efforts, because we basically put no production behind it. We just hit record and put it online.
So looking at the store, let's just have a quick look. So
it's a shame. I just took a load of products that had sold out off. So the selection was much bigger, but they're all sold out. So.
And what are you going to do with those? Are you going to be bringing them back in stock? Because I know clothing is quite an interesting one in that it's not like, say, like going back to the razor, you'll have your product, you might improve it every now and again, but like clothing's always quite a difficult one. It's
sort of trend based for the most part. No, so we won't be, if I've taken it offline, we won't restock it basically. So this is another element of the Black Friday thing where
again.
Yes, we straight.
You get a lot out of him, don't you?
Yeah, we do. Yeah. We what do we do? We needed an extra video for the Friday, the sale day, and we wanted to release 2 limited products. Like we're experimenting with this thing where we drop a product and we sell it for a limited time, and like sort of genuine scarcity, I guess. Because people, it's a shame when you turn up to a parkour event and there's 200 people wearing the same t-shirt. Like, it never happens to that level, but sometimes you can look across a sea of people and see so many of the same item, which is really cool, but also like no one likes to turn up to a party wearing the same as somebody else.
Yeah.
So we're trying to increase our product offering and potentially decrease how many we make. This was just sorry, Karen.
No, so it's kind of, are you actually going to limit it? Because a lot of businesses might say that it's limited, or at least I'm quite skeptical. So someone does something, it says there's 100, but actually,
So with stuff like this, because we're producing these things in-house, we can limit them. So this is all kind of on our like 2.0 model of Motus that we're slowly ramping up, where we're going to sell these for a week, and once they're done, they're done. So they are kind of genuinely limited. But this was very much a bit of a piss take. Like, we chose a very mainstream style of design, which is this like metal design that everyone's doing nowadays, and just we made this fake ad for it and just completely took the piss. But it sells, so it's like, and we had loads of fun.
It looks fun.
Yeah. But yeah, so this is all old sort of Soul Destroyer stock that basically once this stuff's gone, it'll be gone. Apart from the film, we'll sell the film forever, basically.
That's such a good shot as well with the
yeah
the shoes hung over there. That's so cool. Have you got any other plans to do any sort of, is it kind of like feature length?
It's 45 minutes long, but basically non-stop action, like just punch you in the face parkour. We 100% want to do, like, if it wasn't for COVID, we probably would have already started another long form thing. Potentially even a series rather than a film, because we've kind of proven that we can do that method, and it's a really fun one to explore because you can spread the narrative out across multiple episodes rather than trying to condense. Like the series we did out the America tour is like 3.5 hours long or something, whereas a film is a feature length is like an hour and a half, something like that. So you can technically get a lot more bang for your buck and produce something that's got more length to it.
Talking about the products, do you, as a clothing brand, effectively, like how do you actually decide which products to sell? So look, like this beanie, for example, or maybe better is the t-shirts, like this print. Do you actually design the print? Do you source a supplier? Like what's the process, I suppose, from start to finish with those? And I do imagine that these t-shirts will have a different process, but I guess this is a more unusual
so that's one, right? That's modal, so it's like a summer, or it's almost like silk. It's like that's your summer shirt, basically, like your Hawaiian shirt. So it really varies. I mean, I'll talk about that shirt specifically in a minute, but a lot of it is kind of what we want to produce, what we know. You can kind of feel out trends. It's the really hard thing is being like aggressively progressive with trends, because if you take loads of risks and you go, oh, I'm going to do this and this and this and this, and then the trend, like let's say, oh, we're going to do loads of baggy trousers this season, and then by the time because you've got to be working 6 months to a year ahead if you're dealing with factories. If you're printing on blanks, which some of these shirts are printed on blanks, it's a lot easier to come up with a design, and within a few weeks to a month you can have that design, but you're limited to just the design. So that could just be a simple text logo, or it could be a crazy graphic, which once again can be very trend driven. But when it comes to like proper cut and sew, you have to be thinking so far ahead, and then it gets really scary to take risks because it's cash. You're tying up a lot of cash in stuff that's being made on the other side of the world. It's going to take however long to make, and your minimums are higher. So typically our minimums are like 300 per item. So if we wanted to take a risk and go, oh, we're going to make flares, we're limited to minimum 300, sometimes 600, and then flares might not be in a year's time. I hope they aren't. So
imagine they'd be quite impractical in parkour.
Oh, some people wear incredibly baggy trousers, but that's definitely like a factor that you really have to consider, is how progressive you want to be. And it's taken us a long time to like, we're still figuring it out. Like we'll generally play it fairly safe for the most part, and then have a few progressive things. Like this collection was a lot bigger before I took stuff off the site, but with this collection, these shirts here were super progressive because like no one in parkour has done essentially like a floral shirt before. I'll talk about this print in a second, but we did a chain, like a pendant, which we 3D printed, and that was a nightmare to make because COVID basically shut down the factory and everything got delayed and things. But so we kind of went progressive with like those shirts and then accessories, and then for the most of the stuff we've kept it fairly obvious. Although if you scroll up, like
other way, down, up.
Oh, yeah, sorry. The graphics, like on these t-shirts, the Soul Destroyer t-shirt here, were like, I mean, they're very graphic. Like, it's a very polarizing shirt that a lot of people wouldn't want to wear, but thankfully we got very lucky. Like I could see that band t-shirts were coming in, like the kind of gothic style prints and things were definitely coming in, but we got very lucky with like exactly when this stuff dropped was like the peak of everyone wanting to do graphic band merch. So like that kind of stuff in a year's time might not sell as well because maybe everyone's gone more minimalist. But yeah, so these shirts, they're called the impact print because the print is, there's a move in parkour called like an arm jump where you jump and you grab the top of a wall and your feet hit the wall and skid down it, like, and then you climb up. And typically on like white walls or even grey walls, your feet, the black rubber on the sole will leave smears on the walls. So I went to my dad's workshop and I painted my shoes with paint and then covered a big board in white paint and then jumped against this thing, did loads of arm jumps, and my feet smeared all over it. And then we took photos of that and then turned it into a print and then turned that into an all over print on the shirts.
Wow.
So that shirt those are literally, it's kind of a combination of a couple of different footprints, but it's essentially like this smeary pattern. Because one of the guys, Max, one of the athletes, was like, we should do like a patterned floral style shirt. So we kind of sat with that idea and then came up with this.
That's so cool, because to someone like myself who doesn't know anything about parkour, I'd look at that and just be like, oh, it's a cool, that unusual print.
Kind of what we want.
It's like an in joke almost, like, or an in.
Yeah.
That's so
like,
cool.
I don't want people going to their mate's house or, I don't know, a summer barbecue and wearing a shirt that just says like parkour over the front of it. But because you don't get that with skateboarding. You don't get like, oh, skateboarding. Like, you want that thing that the parkour athlete is going to understand that because they know the brand, they know the culture, they know the sport, but it also can just fit in alongside everything else. So
it's amazing. That's cool. And you said you were going to speak more about that. Was that what you were going to say there? Yeah. And so then how do you actually find, I suppose, supplies for this? Like for me, as an Amazon seller, I used to go on Alibaba, like look for big suppliers that sell things like generic products. It was kind of straightforward and easy.
See, I don't find that easy at all. I find Alibaba terrifying.
Really? No, it was...
I've tried it in the past, and you put in like I'm looking to make these, and you get 3,000 emails of everyone being a yes man and going, yeah, we can make that.
Yeah.
And you're like, can you?
Well, that was the thing. It just become a bit of a grind. Like we were really thorough with our products. We would reach out to 50, 60 different suppliers. We had a little office in China that we gathered all of the products to and had them all forwarded. It was a bit of a process, but for the most part, you're just kind of scrolling through and sending out emails. This, I imagine, is a bit more bespoke, or there are fewer suppliers. Like, where do you even start?
There's a lot of people who make clothes, I can tell you that. So my first factory was in Turkey, and I found that, I don't really know how, I just Googled, I guess, and because there's these crazy terms that until you know them, you don't know what to search for. Like, so the term is sourcing agent. If you are looking to make clothing and you want, the obvious thing is you think factory, but the problem is none of the factories have, either they don't care or they just haven't thought about it, or because I guess most of them are based in China, their internet is kind of different, I guess. You just search like clothing factory China, you get nothing. You get results that you do not want, basically, and Alibaba stuff that then you have to grind through. But if you search for sourcing agent, you can find like UK based people, you can find China based people, India based people who like, they will help you. Their job is to basically be a partner in this. So my first factory was Turkey. Just found that on Google. It was awful. Like, I mean, clothes would smell up. Clothes would turn up smelling of cigarettes because they were obviously smoking in the factory while making the clothes.
Oh, God.
Many issues, long sampling times. Like, prices weren't that bad, but this was at the stage I had no idea what I was dealing with. To be fair, I probably could have persisted with them, and because Turkey makes good like cotton goods and things. Then I was kind of getting tired of them due to a number of issues, and a friend of mine recommended a factory that they'd worked with in China, supplied me with this email address for this woman who I then started running things through, and she was incredibly friendly, and I spent a good couple of years working essentially with this woman to sample stuff, and everything was done through like email and Pages documents, and I didn't know what a tech pack was. She never told me like, oh, we work to this format and we need a tech pack, which is, for anyone who doesn't know, like a technical document that you put together that generally they try to be unified. Like you want it so that any factory could look at that tech pack and know what they need to make. The problem is I'd literally just write a list of stuff in a Pages document with photos and arrows to it and be like, do this, do that, do that. And this woman would never say like, we need better than that. And sometimes the results I would get from this factory were completely on the ball and amazing. And other times, I mean, we made a backpack with them that I still have to this day. Like, other times you would just get absolute chaos. And the problem is up until sampling, the sample would be amazing. And you'd be like, yeah, this is great. Like we literally had a crew neck where the fabric was amazing, color was amazing, everything like this. Placed an order, a couple hundred of them arrive. Color is completely different. Fabric, they've swapped out the fabric for a fabric that actually it shrunk in the wash. So I'm then stuck with like 200 crew necks that don't look how I had basically marketed them for the last couple of months. And every single one I have to attach a little label being like, don't wash this over 30. And then people who do, because especially in America, they use dryers a lot. They throw it in a dryer and the whole thing shrinks to a child size. And then you're like, do I offer a refund? Like already my margins weren't good because I didn't know what I was doing. So like, so you get stuff like that. You also get like, you order a few hundred t-shirts from them, sizing good. You order a restock, sizing is completely different and things like that. So went through the ringer with them, had some very, very costly mistakes. And then once again, through a recommendation from another friend, found a company who I've only been with them for a year or two now. And although we've had some nightmare scenarios, thankfully not due to them, just due to one of the factories that we were paired up with and COVID, basically. This year has just been pretty tricky. They're incredible. They have a London office. I speak to people based in London on my time zone who speak coherent English, and they have tech packs that are completely like, they have their own platform online that is just makes everything so much easier to work with. They are also experts in what they do. So if I provide them with 75% of the details to make something, they're going to say, hey, you need to like put the rest in this because otherwise your product isn't going to be there. So yeah.
And are those the guys that did the impact shirt that we were looking at? Or,
yeah. So anything like that isn't printed on blanks that is made at the moment by us is through these guys. And it's been far from easy. And we had this nightmare scenario with, so what this company is, they're a sourcing agent. They are a company that they have gone around. The two CEOs who built this company have traveled around India and China and played Portugal and things. They've handpicked, they're very, very sustainably focused. So they've handpicked factories that they know meet all the guidelines in terms of human rights, all the eco guidelines. So like most of our factories are carbon neutral. They do crazy stuff like they use all the excess bits of fabric off the factory floor. They sweep that up, they turn it into a pulp, and then they make all like the neck labels out of that stuff and things like this, which great for our marketing because we can use that as kind of a selling thing. It obviously does cause a little bit more of a cost, but the world's moving in that direction anyway. Like we're all looking for that kind of thing, and it would be stupid to not do that where we can. So yeah, so they're our supplier, and they basically will pair us up with a factory. So if I went to them and said, hey, I want to make leather jeans, they're going to go, okay, we know a good factory in Portugal who's already on our list. We already know the owners, and we'll pair you up with them. And then you kind of get formally introduced, and still everything goes through them, but you also have this connection to the factory themselves. So.
Cool. Quite a big process then. Have you got many, I suppose, products in the pipeline?
Yeah, so we've got, I mean, literally tomorrow there is half a ton of stock arriving. That's been, all of this stuff that's arriving at the moment has been delayed by a couple of months due to COVID. So that's our winter collection. Half of it should have already dropped and then got pushed back and all of this, but that is coming up very soon. And then we are working on kind of just what we're trying to do is look at the stuff that we know, basically because this next year is still looking very uncertain with like how long COVID is going to be affecting things, what Brexit's going to mean for import and things like this. We are basically looking at those key items, which for us are like trousers and shorts, which we cannot do on blanks, we cannot do in-house. We know they sell, we can get a good margin on them. They're also higher ticket items, so our average order value goes up. And we're thinking like, okay, we're going to not do as much like knit stuff, like t-shirts and hoodies in India, because we can tie up tens of thousands of pounds in knit goods, which realistically, like I would love to produce everything cut and sew. That's the straight up truth. However, 95% of our audience don't care if it's a blank hoodie with our logo printed on it. And we're just not at that stage where we can tie up tens of thousands of pounds in factories in India and then have that stuff get delayed for months. Like it would just, the cash flow issues. So if we're going to tie up money, we're going to tie that up in trousers and shorts that we cannot do in the UK that we know are going to sell, and do the rest kind of in the UK. So that's the mission at the moment, basically. Trying to be fairly reactive, proactive to what we think the world could look like in a year's time. Like, yeah, tricky.
No, so at least you've got a plan, though. It seems that you're going forward. So I'm aware that this is meant to be an hour, and I've taken up a bit more of your time. And
it's
that.
Fine.
One thing I did want to check. One final question. Do you remember your first sale?
I do, actually, because I know who it went to.
What was it?
I mean, it might have been a hoodie, actually. It went to a guy called Johnny Pets, who actually was a guy I used to train with parkour in like the local area. And he's actually like, it's weird because he doesn't do parkour. He hasn't done it for years. And I speak to him once every couple of months. He's a camera operator now. But he's one of those type of people who's like, if their mate is doing something that, like, I don't know, like they set up a business, he's going to buy something because he wants to support. So he made sure to be the first sale. And like, that's even nice. When we've released stuff recently, like I'll see his name pop up on the orders, which is cool. Really like nice. Really cool.
That seems like a nice guy. How long did it take for him to do that?
I mean, it was like, this is another thing that will probably annoy other people, because it was like seconds, a minute, because I had the existing audience to pre-hype, and I already had my name within the community as a filmmaker, and I'd actually started like the Motus Instagram channel for a good few months prior to kind of warm things up and tease products and stuff. So when it came to like, and we shot like a pretty decent lookbook. I put some money into the first launch. I like got my mate who's a good photographer to come out and shoot photos. So people knew it was coming. So I think we did like $2.5 grand in a couple of days on the first launch, which for me was like, oh shit, okay, like this has potential.
Yeah.
So yeah, people were like on the website ready to place an order, which I guess is the benefit of the organic traffic rather than the hoping ads start trickling in or whatever.
Yeah, all that hard work that you put in, basically.
Yeah.
Nice, cool. Well, yeah, I think that's a good place to end it. Is there any sort of imparting wisdom you'd like to leave to the world of e-commerce, Joe?
I don't know what I'm looking at. I'm looking at my little library.
Can you do any sort of trick? Can you do any bit of parkour for everyone? Oh, look at that.
In my chair. I would say, oh, wait. Where is it? That book, The One Thing, one of the best books I've ever read, I reckon, when it comes to like mindset and stuff like that. And also never assume, because my mum always tells me to never assume. And anytime something goes wrong or you mess up, it's probably because you've assumed, you've made an assumption. So
makes an ass out of both of us.
Exactly. Very true. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't really know what wisdom I have. I know I'm quite happy that I feel like I'm amassing wisdom, and I'm excited to like see where things go. I also feel like I'm now approaching the stage where, like, let's say this all just died tomorrow, I've learned enough that I could transition into a different brand or something, and like it's definitely like a new passion for me. Like filmmaking was huge for me, and now I still love it, but I don't have that like itch so much. Whereas now I just want to like marketing and growth, and it should be money. It should, but it's not. It's it's the stuff that makes the money is the fun bit.
Yeah, I think the money clearly comes from it. You put all the work and the fun into it.
Yeah.
Oh, great. All right, then. Well, I'm going to end it there. Thank you, Giles.
Are we doing a fake?
We'll do a fake. Yeah, we'll do a fake one, and then we'll actually say goodbye. I haven't pushed, and I never. It moves. It's on my 2 screens. Oh, there we go. And there we have it. That's the end of the episode. If you didn't know what parkour is, I'm sure you're going to be looking into it now, and you might have found yourself a new hobby. I hope you enjoyed Giles' story and are looking forward to more like them. If you enjoyed the content, please leave a like, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel and you can see more content like this. I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. See you soon.